when Sebastian says that the air of the island was fragrant, it was gentle and soothing. Now, Sebastian, being a cynical man, says, as if it had lungs and rotten ones. Now, here he says that yes, the air definitely, the kind of air that is blowing in this island, it seems that the lungs of the island are rotten lungs. And the air here blows as if it had lungs exhaling foul breath. So it seemed that the island had rotten lungs, and the air that it seemed to exhale was foul breath coming from the island. Antonio says, or as it were perfumed by the fen. Now he says, yes, or the air seems to have that rotten smell, as if it has acquired that rotten smell from some foul, marshy land that is there, some fen. But Gonzalo tries to support Adrian by saying, here is everything advantageous to life. Now he says everything on this island is so wholesome and so favorable to life. True save means to life. Now he says that Gonzalo was right. This island had everything except the means of living. And Sebastian supports Antonio by saying, oh, of that there is none or little. That is, yes, he was absolutely right. There was nothing or very little of the means of life here. That is, the means of livelihood or the means of living were hardly any in this place. Gonzalo says, how lush and lusty the grass looks, how green. Now, Gonzalo observes that the grass growing here looked so beautiful, so lush green. And Antonio again contradicts him and says, the ground indeed looks tawny. That is, the grass that was growing on the island was tawny in color, yellowish brown in color. And again, Sebastian is supporting Antonio by saying, yes, it has just an eye of green in it. That is, it is mostly tawny in color, yellowish brown in color, with a touch of greenery here and there. Now, Antonio says he misses not much. Now, Gonzalo is in a way mockingly appreciating, Antonio is, mockingly appreciating Gonzalo by saying that this fellow Gonzalo has a very keen sense of observation. He does not miss anything with his eyes. He sees everything, notices everything. Now, Gonzalo Children is making a very important observation here. He says, but the rarity of it is, which is indeed almost beyond credit. Now, he says that the most unique thing, the rarest thing that he has noticed, which he guarantees, is very difficult to believe. Now, again, he is cut short by uh, Sebastian, who says, as many vouched rarities are. That is, what is he saying? That he guarantees that this rare thing is unbelievable. He says almost every unique thing is guaranteed to be unbelievable. This is an important part, children. You will even mark this out. Here, Gonzalo makes a very important observation. He says that our garments, being as they were, drenched in the sea, hold notwithstanding their freshness and gloss, being rather new dyed than stained with salt water. Now, here he makes a very important observation. He says that, by the way, he would say that their garments, being as they were drenched in the sea. Now, it's a fact that the ship had met with a tempest, the ship had wrecked, and they had all, jumped into the foaming brine, the salty waters of the sea to save their lives. So, obviously, their clothes were all drenched in the seawater. So, he says that their garments, which is a fact, were all drenched in the salty waters of the sea, the brine. Notwithstanding means not taking that into consideration, that though their clothes were drenched in the salt water, notwithstanding that the freshness and the gloss of their clothes is still retained. All right. So he says that though their clothes were drenched in the sea water, Still, he says that they retain their freshness, their luster, and their gloss. In fact, he says that their clothes look as if they have been freshly dyed and not soiled by the salty waters of the sea. So he is comparing their freshness by saying that they do not look drenched in the seawater at all. Rather, they look that they have been freshly dyed, recently dyed, and not soaked in the salty waters of the sea. Now, Antonio is as cynical as ever. He tries to contradict that observation of Gonzalo by saying, if but one of his pockets could speak, would it not say he lies? That is, he says this is what Gonzalo was saying. If one of the pockets of Gonzalo could speak, then there would be a lot of muddy content and salt that would be still there inside the pocket of his shirt, which would have gathered there because while they were swimming across the river to reach the shore. So he says if one of his pockets could speak, the muddy, salty content that would be inside the pocket would reveal that he is telling a lie. The pocket would say that Gonzalo was lying. Their clothes were not fresh, but they were, yes, they pockets still had mud and salt inside them. A, or very falsely pocket up his report. Now, again, Sebastian is supporting Antonio, and he says that yes, this man Gonzalo is so deceitful that he would suppress even the opinion of his pocket. He would not let it come out. Undeterred by what Sebastian and Antonio have to say, Gonzalo continues with the same claim again, and you will mark, children. Methinks our garments are now as fresh as when we put them on first in Africa at the marriage of King's fair daughter Claribel to the King of Tunis. Now, this is, children, an important part. Now, this is bringing you to the introduction of the chapter. Now, where were these people returning from when they met with this shipwreck? So he says that Gonzalo feels that their garments are at the moment as fresh as they had worn them for the first time. Now he says that the garments at the moment were as fresh as when they were worn for the first time in Africa at the marriage of Claribel, who was Alonso's beautiful daughter, to the king of Tunis. So when they were in Africa and they had worn the garments for the first time for the wedding of Claribel in Tunis to the king of Tunis, the clothes appeared to be as fresh now as they were then. They do not seem to have lost their gloss of freshness at all. Now Sebastian says it was a sweet marriage and we prosper well in our return. Now he describes the marriage as a sweet, a fine marriage, and he says that they were doing well when they were returning or when they were on their homeward journey. Edwin says Tunis was never graced before with such a paragon of their queen. Now Edwin is trying to tell how beautiful Claribel is, and he says that Tunis was never graced with such a paragon of beauty, such an epitome of beauty as Claribel. They were never blessed with as beautiful a queen as Claribel ever in the past. Gonzalo says not since the widow Dido time. Now here we will go back to Queen Dido. Now children, Dido was the queen of Carthage in North Africa, and she was famed to be a very beautiful queen. And it is said that during his travel, Aeneas had stayed there for some time, and Queen Dido had fallen deeply in love with him. And after some time, when Aeneas returned to Troy, she was so heartbroken that at the end she committed suicide. Thus, Dido is regarded as a symbol of constant but hopeless passion. The idea here is that Claribel, who is Alonso's daughter, is a woman of great beauty, a paragon of beauty, just as Dido was. Dido is here called a widow because she was forsaken by her lover Aeneas. Antonio says, widow, a plague on that. How came that widow in? Widow Dido. Now, Antonio is trying to rebuke Gonzalo by, telling him how may a plague fall on on him. How did he mention Dido here when he was talking about Claribel? Because she has just got married, Claribel, and she is a beautiful girl who has been, or rather, Tunis has been blessed by a queen like Claribel. And how could Gonzalo compare Claribel with this widow Dido? It was a very wrong comparison, according to Antonio. Now, Sebastian also takes a dig at Gonzalo by saying, what if he said widower Aeneas to good Lord? How you take it? Now, Aeneas was Dido's faithless lover, so Sebastian is humorously asking if Aeneas could be called a widower after Dido had committed suicide. Now, Adrian says, widow Dido said you make me study of that. She was of Carthage, not Tunis. Now, Adrian says that since they are mentioning Dido here, so this is making him examine this point closely. But according to him, Dido was the queen of Carthage and not of Tunis. Now, Gonzalo says this Tunis, sir, was Carthage. Now, he says that Tunis and Carthage are one and the same place. Now, children, the modern city of Tunis is located only about some 10 miles away from the ruins of ancient Carthage. So he says that both the places were one and the same. I assure you, Carthage, his word is more than the miraculous harp. Now, here, children, he is making fun of Gonzalo because he feels that Carthage and Tunis are not the same place. So he says that Gonzalo is being compared here to the legendary king Amphion of Thebes, who raised the city walls by playing the harp. Now, according to the old Grecian fable, the walls of Thebes were not built by hand, but they were raised by the musical notes of the Amphion's harp. Now, Sebastian says that Gonzalo's words have had same effect because he has raised the walls and the house of the city of Carthage here. Now he is in a way saying that just as the walls were erected not by hand but by the music played by the king's harp, automatically the walls of the city were raised. So here he is trying to say that Gonzalo's words are like those magical harp, and he has not just created the walls but also the roof and made an entire city out of his own imagination. So he is in a way trying to make fun of Gonzalo because Gonzalo has said that Carthage and Tunis were one and the same place. So he is making fun by saying that just like the magical harp, when it was played by the king, the walls had automatically, been erected. So here he says that Gonzalo's words are like that magical harp, and here it is even way beyond the music of the harp. He has not only erected the walls, but also the roof of the city, and almost given birth to a new city by his imagination, calling Tunis and Carthage as the same city. Therefore, Sebastian says he has raised the walls and the house too. So the king had only raised the walls by the music of his magical harp. And here Gonzalo, by his words, has not only raised the walls of the city of Carthage, but also built the entire house, the city, by his words. Antonio says, what impossible matter will he make easy next? Now, here he is trying to say that Gonzalo is just a man of words, useless words, and he can say just anything. So he is saying, just guess what is the next impossible matter that he will easily make happen through his words, which otherwise might be very difficult. But Gonzalo, being a man who speaks a lot, will make next impossible thing sound so easy by just making that statement. Now, Sebastian is again taking a dig at Gonzalo, making fun of him. He says, I think he will carry this island home in his pocket and will give it his son for an apple, and sowing the kernels of it in the sea bring forth more island. Now, making fun of Gonzalo, Sebastian says the next impossible thing that Gonzalo can do is that he can carry this entire island in his pocket to his home and present it like one would present an apple to his son. So he says that Gonzalo can carry the entire island in his pocket like an apple and present it to his son like somebody would present an apple to his son. And then he would give it to his son as if he was giving an apple that he had brought from this place. And then what he will do next is he will take the seeds, the kernels, the seed, and just throw them into the ocean, and many new islands will crop out of it. Like if you throw seeds of apple, apple trees will grow. So if this island was taken as an apple, so inside the island the seeds will be the seeds of island. So you just throw them into the sea and new islands will crop up. So he's trying to crack joke at Gonzalo's expense by saying that he can say anything, he can just take the island like he was taking an apple from here and give it to his son, and from the seeds that will come out of that so-called apple will be thrown into the sea to give birth to new islands emerging out of the sea. But Gonzalo is not deterred by what these people are saying. And Gonzalo continues to talk to the king. He says, "Sir, we were talking that our garments seem now as fresh as they were in Tunis at the marriage of your daughter, who is now queen." He once again repeats that claim to Alonso, saying that the garments appeared fresh as when they had worn it in Tunis for the first time for Claribel's wedding. "And the rarest that ever came there. Wait, I beseech you, widow Dido." Again, ignoring the comments of Sebastian and Antonio, Gonzalo says, "Is not, sir, my doublet as fresh as the first day I wore it? I mean, in a sort." Now, Gonzalo asks Alonso to comment if he does not feel the same way, that the doublet that is worn by Gonzalo, it is as fresh as he had worn it for the first day. In a way, it is as fresh as that. That sort was well fished for. That sort was well fished for is, now Antonio says that he rightly modified his original statement by adding in a sort at the end, like say sort of as fresh as. So he says that he has modified the statement by adding sort of at the end. It is sort of as fresh as it was. "When I wore it at your daughter's marriage," that is, he again says that when the doublet was first worn. Alonso says, "You cram these words into mine ears against the stomach of my senses. Would I never married my daughter there, for coming thence my son is lost. And in my rate she too, who is so far from Italy removed. I never again shall see her. O down my heir of Naples and of Milan, what strange fish had made his meal on thee." Now Alonso is grieving at the loss of his son. He says that you cram these words into mine ears against the stomach of my senses. Now this is a metaphor here. Just as, if you do not have appetite, somebody forces food into your mouth, you don't want to eat it. It is repulsive to you. So similarly, somebody has to force that food into your mouth because you have no inclination to eat if you have no appetite. Similarly, he is saying that Gonzalo was cramming those words forcefully into the ears of Alonso. Those words of comfort, Gonzalo was forcefully cramming into Alonso's ears when his ears had no appetite for words of comfort. His ears were in no mood to hear words of comfort, words of solace. But Gonzalo was forcing those words of comfort into his ears, like you force food into somebody's mouth when he has no appetite. Would I means wish. Now, Alonso wishes that he had never married his daughter in Tunis. For means because. Now, why does he wish that he had not married his daughter in Tunis? He says, because coming thence my son is lost. Because returning from Tunis, he has lost his son Ferdinand in that shipwreck. and in my rate she too. And as far as he thinks, he has lost his daughter also. Why? Because he has married her so far away from Italy. She is too far away removed from Italy. That is, she has been married in Tunis so far away from Italy that he will not be able to see her ever again. And then he laments, mourns at the loss of Ferdinand by calling him the heir of Naples and Milan. Obviously, now, since Milan was under Naples, so he calls Ferdinand as the heir to both Milan and Naples. And he says, what strange fish might have made a meal of Ferdinand by now, because he feels that he is drowned in the sea. So we'll end here.